10 more units down here for crowd control.
On a Saturday night back in June 2001, we received a call of a shooting that had occurred outside of a nightclub in downtown Palo Alto, just 1 block south of University Avenue. And I responded immediately. I was the second officer on scene. The victim, Maria Shao, a 21-year-old college student, had sustained a gunshot wound to her head and was laying on the sidewalk in front of the nightclub. And I immediately began performing CPR on Maria with one of my partners until the fire department got there and took over. It was a chaotic scene. There were people screaming, there were lights flashing, and there was that unknown that we had no idea who the suspect was. We didn't know where the gun was. We didn't know if the person was still at large. We didn't know if they were there watching us as we were performing CPR on Maria.
You know, that night we just wanted to get together with a bunch of friends and go out for dinner, to celebrate our birthday and have a nice time, just to have a nice dinner. And we didn't expect for this to happen. Ria attended the Academy of Art University in San Francisco, and she was studying to become a digital special effects designer.
When she would walk into a room, her smile would just light it up. She had the kindest heart out of anybody that I've ever known, even up until today.
And we did everything we could that night to try and save her life, and unfortunately it wasn't enough. Paramedics from the Palo Alto Fire Department transported Maria to the hospital with lights and sirens. I was in the ambulance with them and continued to render life-saving efforts to her the entire time there. And unfortunately, she passed away on the operating table a short time after we arrived at the hospital.
I remember very clearly the day that I found out about it. A family friend came in and he wouldn't look me in the eye. It took a while for him to get the information out. And when he finally told me, I remember just kind of falling to my knees. At that moment, I really was too stunned to say anything or even cry.
So this case in the last 13 years remains unsolved, and we don't know who killed Maria Shao, and we don't know the circumstances around the details of what happened that night. What we do know is that there was a group of people that were standing outside the nightclub on the sidewalk. Could have been anywhere from 10 to 20 people. Maria was there with her older sister and 3 of their friends, and there were bouncers from the nightclub that were out front, and there were other nightclub patrons. What we know is that there was a single shot fired, that it struck Maria in the head, and that we never found the murder weapon.
It's highly unlikely that no one saw anything that night. I'm sure someone saw something.
Somebody has some knowledge that they haven't shared with us yet, and they know who fired that shot. And that's the information that we're looking to solicit. We need that person or those people who have knowledge of what happened to come forward and share their observations with us so that we have a direction in which to proceed, so we can try to find out what happened to Maria.
Living in this world without your best friend or, someone in your family, I can't wish that on anybody. I can't wish this on anybody. So if you have any information, please come forward.
Whoever has this information has had this information pent up inside of them since June of 2001. We can only imagine what this person must be going through inside their mind. The weight of seeing a death occur in front of someone is immeasurable. We understand that. But that person holds the key to making this situation just a little bit better for Maria's friends and Maria's family. You know, in many cases that I've worked over my 16 years as a police officer, I've found that when people come forward and share that critical piece of information that they may have been withholding, that they immediately feel better and they feel a weight off their shoulders. And there's no doubt in my mind that that would be true in this case too. We're hopeful that now, after all this time, that the passage of time, perhaps the change in their life circumstances, will provide them with the opportunity and the desire to come forward now and do the right thing and share what they actually know and what they saw that night.
Yes, she was my best friend, but to lose a family member, I can't even imagine that.
This would mean the world to me and to my family. It's so hard with no closure. It would help me to heal. It would help me to move on. It would mean the world to me.
The loss is something that you can't really measure because it's so priceless.
There's still a reward that's been on the table for the past 13 years, and that reward is substantial in size. It's a monetary award that's been put forth by the city of Palo Alto, Maria's family, Maria's friends, and that's still available for the person to come forward who can provide us with information and who can provide closure for Maria's family.
But more than that monetary reward, there is the reward for my family, for me, for our friends who lost Maria. The peace that would bring to me would be priceless, worth all the money in the world to me. It would help me to heal and so that I can move forward.
I wish that they have found the people who did this. Wish for it. They are not the killer because he's my daughter.
I think an important thing for people to remember about Maria Shao is that she was a wonderful young woman. Had her whole life in front of her. She wasn't a criminal. She didn't have enemies. She wasn't intoxicated. She wasn't drunk. She didn't do anything wrong. All she was doing was out enjoying a night out with her family and her friends. And that, I think, is the really touching part to this case, is that this could have happened to anyone's daughter. This could have happened to anyone's sister or anyone's friend.
In our circle of friends, we don't know anyone who has been murdered. We don't know anyone that's in a gang. Lots of bad things happen to people. But I don't know, to make the best of this with the foundation, doing something good out of something so horrible, we can at least try to make good out of something so terrible. I tell my children about Auntie Ria and the things that she loved and her artwork, and that she loved children. So they know that Auntie Ria is their favorite maternal aunt. Their only auntie on this side. I used to, when they were little, we would visit, we still visit the grave, and they give Auntie Ria a kiss. They know that Auntie Ria is in heaven, and one day they'll get to see her too.
And this case has left an open sore for the Palo Alto community, and it's something that we desperately want to solve, not only for the Palo Alto community, for the Palo Alto Police Department, but most of all, for the family of Maria Shao. And they deserve closure. They deserve to know what happened that night to their daughter. It was a shocking, shocking crime, and it's remained unsolved, and that's not acceptable. Palo Alto is a safe place. This stuff shouldn't happen here, and when it does, we owe it to the community, and the community owes it to the family to figure out what actually happened that night. I went to Maria's service after she had passed away. Several of us did from the police department, and her family passed out little pink ribbons that we put on our lapels and wore on our uniforms throughout the service. And I still have that ribbon. And I look at that ribbon every time I put my uniform on. For me personally, I feel like I have a very close bond to Maria. I was there when she passed away, and I wasn't able to do anything to save her. And that has left a big hole in my heart, to be quite honest. And you can go on thousands of calls in your career, but there are a certain number of calls that you're always going to remember every detail to them. And this certainly was one of those calls for us. No one has forgotten this case, and no one's forgotten Maria. And that's why we want to do everything we can to try and find out the truth about what happened that night.